I thought my nightmare was over until I saw the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test. 6 months had passed since I killed David Okafor and broke his evil curse. My foundation was thriving. We had saved over 50 girls from dangerous situations. The government was funding our work. International organizations wanted to partner with us. I was finally happy, until the morning I threw up for the 5th day in a row. "Sarah, you need to see a doctor," Joy said as I came out of the bathroom at our foundation office. "I'm fine. Just stress from all the new projects." But deep down, I knew something was wrong. My body felt different, strange, like something was growing inside me. That afternoon, I bought a pregnancy test from a pharmacy near our office. My hands shook as I waited for the results. 2 pink lines. Positive. I stared at the test for 10 minutes, hoping it would change. But the lines stayed there, bright and clear. I was pregnant, but that was impossible. I hadn't been with any man since that terrible night with David. And that was 7 months ago. Wait, 7 months ago. My blood turned to ice. No, couldn't be. David was dead. I watched him die. His body turned to dust. But if I was pregnant, and I hadn't been with anyone else, I ran to the mirror in our office bathroom. My reflection looked normal, but I lifted my shirt and touched my stomach. There was a small bump there. How had I not noticed it before? I called Joy into the bathroom. "Joy, look at this." I showed her the pregnancy test. Her eyes went wide. "Sarah, that's wonderful. Who's the father?" I couldn't speak. "Sarah? Who's the father?" I think it's David's." Joy's face went white. "But that's impossible. He's been dead for 6 months. 7 months, I corrected. And I haven't been with anyone since him." "But Sarah, you said the curse was broken. You were healed. The maggots were healed. But what if he left something else inside me?" We stared at each other in horror. "We need to go to a hospital," Joy said. "Right now." At the hospital, Dr. Amara, our foundation's medical partner, examined me. She was a kind woman in her 50s who had helped many of our girls. "Congratulations, Sarah," she said with a smile. "You're about 7 months pregnant." 7 months. My heart stopped. "But I don't look 7 months pregnant." Dr. Amara frowned and looked at the ultrasound screen again. "That's strange. The baby is definitely 7 months old, but your belly is only showing about 3 months. Is that normal?" "No. It's very unusual." She pointed to the screen. "And there's something else odd." "What?" "The baby's heartbeat is different, much slower than normal. And look at this." She showed me the ultrasound image. The baby looked normal, but there was something around it, like a dark shadow. "What is that shadow?" "I'm not sure. It could be the placenta, but it's an unusual shape." I studied the image more closely. The shadow looked familiar. It looked like the symbols I had seen on David's ritual room walls. "Dr. Amara," I said slowly, "can you check if the baby has any unusual DNA?" "What do you mean?" "Just, please, check everything. I need to know if this baby is completely human." Dr. Amara looked confused but agreed to run extra tests. 3 days later, she called me back to the hospital. "Sarah," she said, her voice shaking, "I need to ask you something, and please tell me the truth. Who is the father of this baby?" "Why?" "Because the DNA results are impossible." She showed me a computer screen with genetic information I couldn't understand. "This baby has human DNA, but there are sequences I've never seen before. Sequences that shouldn't exist in nature." My worst fears were coming true. "What does that mean?" "I don't know. I've sent the samples to laboratories in London and America. No one can explain it." "Is the baby dangerous?" "I don't know that either. But Sarah, there's something else." "What?" "You're not just pregnant. You're changing." "Changing how?" She handed me a mirror. "Look at your eyes." I looked in the mirror and gasped. My eyes, which had always been brown, now had flecks of red in them, just like David's eyes had been. "This started showing up in your blood tests yesterday," Dr. Amara continued. "Your blood chemistry is changing. becoming something that's not completely human. I felt sick. The baby is changing me? It appears so. And Sarah, there's one more thing. What now? Other women have been coming to hospitals across Lagos with similar pregnancies. My heart stopped. What do you mean? Women who claim they haven't been with any man in months, but they're pregnant. All of them are about 7 months along. All of them have the same unusual DNA in their babies. How many women? 17 so far. 17 other women. All pregnant with impossible babies. Dr. Amara, I whispered. I think these babies are connected to a man who died 7 months ago. That's impossible. A lot of impossible things have been happening to me lately. I told her about David, the curse, the ritual room, everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Sarah, she finally said, if what you're telling me is true, then these babies might not be normal babies. What do you think they are? I think they might be David's way of coming back from the dead. The thought made me sick. You mean he's going to be reborn? Maybe not just him. Maybe he's trying to create an army. 17 babies. 17 women. All carrying David's supernatural children. What happens when they're born? I asked. I don't know. But Sarah, I'm worried about you. Your body is changing faster than the other women. The red in your eyes is getting stronger. She was right. I could feel something dark growing inside me. Not just the baby, but something else. Like David's evil was spreading through my blood. How long do I have? I think once the baby is born, the transformation will be complete. What transformation? You'll become like him, immortal, evil, and completely under his control. I touched my stomach. Inside me was David's child, slowly turning me into a monster. Can it be stopped? Dr. Amara shook her head. I don't know. This is beyond medical science. That night, I called Mrs. Rose, the traditional healer who had helped me before. I was wondering when you would call, she said before I could speak. You know what's happening to me? Yes, child. David's final curse. Much more clever than the first one. Can you help me? Come to my house tomorrow night. Bring joy. You'll need all the help you can get. What about the other women? Find them. All 17. If we're going to break this curse, we need to do it together. Why together? Because David isn't trying to come back as one person. He's trying to come back as 18 people. 18 immortal bodies, all sharing his evil soul. My blood went cold. A supernatural army. Yes, and once those babies are born, David will be more powerful than ever before. How long do we have? 2 months. Maybe less. 2 months to find 17 other cursed women and somehow break a supernatural pregnancy curse. 2 months before David Okafor returned from the dead as 18 immortal demons. 2 months before I lost my soul forever. I hung up the phone and looked at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The red flecks in my eyes were glowing now. David's evil was already taking over. But I wouldn't go down without a fight. I had killed him once. I could kill him again, even if it meant killing myself in the process. The next morning, I woke up to find blood on my pillow. Not from my nose or mouth. From my eyes. I ran to the bathroom mirror. The red flecks in my eyes had spread overnight. Now half of each eye was blood red. Sarah. Joy knocked on my door. Are you okay? I heard you screaming. I opened the door. When Joy saw my eyes, she stepped back in fear. Oh my God. Sarah, your eyes. I know. It's getting worse. We need to find those other women today. I nodded. Every hour I waited, David's evil grew stronger inside me. We spent the morning calling every hospital in Lagos. Most doctors wouldn't give us information about patients. But Dr. Amara had connections. By noon, we had a list of names and addresses. The first woman we visited was named Grace. She lived in a small apartment in Surulere with her mother and 3 children. When she opened the door, I gasped. Her eyes were completely red. Not just flecks like mine. Completely red, like pools of blood. Grace, I said. She stared at me for a moment, then smiled. But it wasn't a normal smile. It was cold and cruel. "Sarah," she said in a voice that didn't sound like her own. "I've been waiting for you. Grace, we're here to help you." "Help me?" she laughed, and the sound made my skin crawl. "I don't need help. I'm perfect now." Behind her, I could see her apartment. The walls were covered with the same symbols I had seen in David's ritual room. "Grace, you're not yourself. David's curse is changing you." "David's gift," she corrected. "He's giving me power, immortality, everything I ever wanted." "At what cost?" "The cost of weakness. The cost of being human." I realized with horror that Grace was already gone. David's evil had completely taken over her mind. "Grace, you have children. What about them?" For a moment, her red eyes flickered. I saw a flash of the real Grace underneath. My children?" "Yes, your 3 babies. They need their mother." Grace touched her stomach. "I'm going to have another baby soon. David's baby. He'll be so much better than my other children." "Grace, that's not you talking. That's David. David is me now. We are one." She closed the door in our faces. Joy and I looked at each other. "She's completely possessed," Joy whispered. "If she's this far gone after 7 months, what will I be like in 2 more months?" "We won't let that happen." But I could already feel David's influence growing stronger. Sometimes I caught myself thinking his thoughts, agreeing with his evil ideas. The second woman, Blessing, was even worse. She had already given birth. "The baby came early," her sister told us at the hospital. "But it wasn't normal." "What do you mean?" "It looked like a regular baby at first. But then it started talking." "Talking?" "Newborns can't talk. This one could. It said its name was David. It said it was coming back to finish what it started." My blood turned to ice. "Where is the baby now?" "Dead. It only lived for 3 hours. But Blessing died with it." "What happened to her?" "The doctors said it was impossible. Her body just aged. In 3 hours, she went from 25 years old to looking like she was 90. Then she died." So that's what happened when David's babies were born. They killed their mothers by draining their life force. "Did the baby say anything else?" "Yes. It said that 17 more were coming. And that soon, David would have enough bodies to live forever. 17 more babies. 17 more deaths. Including mine. We visited 6 more women that day. 3 of them were like Grace, completely possessed by David's evil spirit. 2 were fighting the possession but losing. 1 had already died giving birth to a baby that lived for only 4 hours. By evening, I was exhausted and terrified. "Sarah," Joy said as we drove back to the foundation, "your eyes are getting redder." She was right. I could feel David's thoughts getting louder in my head. "Why are you fighting me?" His voice whispered in my mind. "I can give you everything you ever wanted." "You're dead," I thought back. "Leave me alone. I'm more alive than ever. And soon I'll have 18 bodies to choose from. I won't let you hurt those women. You won't have a choice. In 2 months, you'll be me. And I'll use your foundation to find even more girls to curse." The thought of David using my foundation, my life's work, to hurt more girls made me sick. But I could feel his influence growing stronger. Part of me was starting to agree with him. Maybe immortality wouldn't be so bad, I caught myself thinking. Maybe having David's power would help me protect more girls. I shook my head violently. Those weren't my thoughts. They were his. That night, Joy and I went to Mrs. Rose's house. Mrs. Rose lived in an old compound in Mushin. Her house was small but filled with herbs, candles, and protective charms. "You're later than I expected," she said when she saw us. "We spent the day finding the other women." "How many did you find?" 7. 3 are completely possessed. 2 are fighting it. 1 is dead, and 1 gave birth to a baby that died. Mrs. Rose nodded grimly. "It's worse than I thought." "What do you mean?" "David isn't just trying to come back. He's trying to evolve." "Evolve how?" "The first time he was immortal, he was still limited to 1 body. But this curse creates multiple bodies that all share the same evil soul. So he can be in 18 places at once? Yes, and if one body dies, the others survive. He'll be nearly impossible to kill. How do we stop him? Mrs. Rose was quiet for a long time. There might be a way, she finally said. But it's very dangerous. Tell me. The curse connects all 18 pregnancies. If we can break the connection, we can stop the births. How do we break the connection? We need to gather all the remaining women in one place. Then perform a counter-ritual during the new moon. When is the new moon? Tomorrow night. My heart sank. Tomorrow? But we haven't found all the women yet. Then we work with who we have. How many women can you gather by tomorrow night? I thought about it. Grace and the others who were fully possessed wouldn't come willingly. The ones who were dead obviously couldn't come. Maybe 5 or 6. That might be enough. But Sarah, there's something you need to know. What? The counter-ritual requires a sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? The woman who is most connected to David has to give up her life to break the curse for the others. I felt cold. Most connected how? The first woman he cursed. The one who carries the strongest piece of his soul. Me. You're saying I have to die to save the others? Not just die. You have to willingly give your soul to reverse the curse. It will destroy both you and David forever. I looked at Joy. She was crying. There has to be another way, Joy said. I've studied this for 60 years, Mrs. Rose replied. This is the only way. I touched my stomach. David's baby moved inside me, as if it knew we were talking about destroying it. What happens to the baby if I do this? The baby will die with David's soul. But Sarah, you need to understand, that thing inside you isn't really a baby. It's a piece of David's evil wrapped in human flesh. I knew she was right. Every day I felt less human and more like David. How long do I have to decide? The ritual must happen tomorrow night. If we wait longer, you'll be too far gone to make the sacrifice willingly. And if I don't do it, David will be reborn in 18 bodies. He'll be more powerful than ever. And he'll use that power to curse thousands more girls. I thought about all the girls we had saved through the foundation. I thought about all the girls David would hurt if he came back. I thought about my mother and brothers, who finally had a good life because of the money David had given me. And I thought about Joy, who had become like a sister to me. I'll do it, I said.
Sarah, no.
Joy grabbed my arm. Joy, I have to. If I don't, David wins. All those girls will suffer like we did. But you'll die. Maybe. But at least I'll die as myself, not as David's puppet. Mrs. Rose nodded approvingly. You're brave, child. But first, we need to gather the other women. How do we convince them to come? Tell them the truth. Tell them they're going to die anyway when the babies are born. At least this way they die as heroes. The next morning, Joy and I started making phone calls. Of the remaining women, 4 agreed to come. They were scared and desperate, just like I had been 7 months ago. 2 refused. They were already too far under David's influence. 1 couldn't be reached. Her phone was disconnected. That evening, we met at an abandoned church in Yaba. Mrs. Rose had chosen it because it was built on sacred ground. The 4 other women looked terrible. Their eyes all had red flecks like mine. Their bellies were swollen with David's evil children. Why did you call us here? Asked one woman named Peace. To save your lives, I said. I explained everything. The curse, David's plan, the ritual we needed to perform. You're saying we all have to die? Asked another woman named Hope. I have to die, I corrected. The rest of you will be freed. But what if it doesn't work? Then we all die anyway when the babies are born. At least this way we have a chance. The women looked at each other uncertainly. I'll do it, said Peace. I can already feel that thing changing me. I don't want to become a monster. Me too, said Hope. My family is scared of me. My own children won't come near me. The other 2 women also agreed. Mrs. Rose began preparing the ritual space. She drew symbols on the floor with white chalk, lit candles in a circle, and burned special herbs. As the sun set, I felt David's voice getting louder in my head. Don't do this, Sarah. We can rule together. We can have everything. I'd rather have nothing than have it with you. You'll regret this. I'll make sure you suffer in the afterlife. I'm already suffering. At least this way it ends. Mrs. Rose called us to the center of the circle. It's time, she said. I took my place in the middle. The other 4 women formed a circle around me. Mrs. Rose began chanting in Yoruba. The candles flickered. The temperature dropped. I felt something moving inside me. David's baby was fighting the ritual. Pain shot through my stomach.
Doubled over.
Sarah, Joy called out. Keep going, I shouted. Don't stop, Mrs. Rose chanted louder. The other women joined hands around me. Suddenly, the red in my eyes began to fade. I could feel David's influence weakening. No, his voice screamed in my head. You can't do this to me. Watch me. The pain in my stomach got worse. But I could also feel something else, relief. For the first time in months, my thoughts were completely my own. The ritual was working. But then, something went wrong. The church doors burst open. Grace walked in, but she wasn't alone. She had brought the other possessed women with her. Their eyes were completely red now. They moved like puppets, controlled by David's will. Stop the ritual, Grace commanded in David's voice. Don't stop, I yelled to Mrs. Rose. Finish it. The possessed women rushed toward us, but something invisible held them back. The protective circle was working. For now. You cannot stop what has already begun, David spoke through Grace. I am already being reborn. As if to prove his point, one of the possessed women suddenly screamed. She was going into labor, right there in the church. Hurry, I shouted to Mrs. Rose. Before the baby is born. Mrs. Rose chanted faster, but I could see sweat beading on her forehead. The ritual was taking all her strength. The possessed woman gave birth to David's first reborn body. The baby opened its eyes immediately and looked directly at me. Hello, Sarah, it said in David's adult voice. Did you miss me? The baby's adult voice coming from its tiny mo. Another possessed woman screamed. She was going into labor too. Sarah, Joy yelled from outside the circle. Your stomach. I looked down. Blood was seeping through my dress. David's baby was trying to claw its way out of me. The pain was unbearable, but I forced myself to stay standing. I'm ready, I shouted to Mrs. Rose. Do it now. Mrs. Rose raised her hands to the sky and spoke the final words of the ritual. By the power of light over darkness, by the strength of good over evil, I call upon the ancestors to accept this willing sacrifice. Lightning flashed outside, even though there were no clouds. The first reborn baby started screaming, not like a normal baby, but like a grown man in agony. You cannot destroy me. David's voice came from the tiny body. I am immortal. Not anymore, I whispered. I felt something leaving my body, not just David's baby, but my own life force. It was flowing out of me like water. But as my life left me, I felt David's evil leaving too. The red completely faded from my eyes. The other 4 women in the circle gasped as the red faded from their eyes too. The curse was breaking.
No.
David's reborn baby tried to crawl toward me, but it was getting weaker. The possessed women outside the circle started screaming. The red was leaving their eyes too, and they were remembering who they really were. What happened to me? Grace cried, looking around in confusion. Where am I? What did I do? But I was getting too weak to answer. The ritual was draining my life away. I collapsed to my knees. Sarah, Joy broke through the protective circle and caught me as I fell. Stay back, Mrs. Rose warned. The ritual isn't finished. David's reborn baby was dying. Its tiny body was shriveling up like David's had 7 months ago. This isn't over. It gasped with its last breath. Then it turned to dust. At the same time, I felt David's baby inside me dissolve. The pain in my stomach stopped. The curse is broken, Mrs. Rose announced. All around the church, The other women were collapsing as David's babies died inside them. But unlike me, they weren't dying. They were being freed. I was the only one who had to pay the ultimate price. Sarah, stay with me, Joy begged, holding my head in her lap. It's okay, I whispered. I did what I had to do. You can't die. The Foundation needs you. I need you. You don't need me anymore. You're strong enough to run it yourself. My vision was getting blurry. I could feel my heartbeat slowing down. Tell my mother and brothers I love them, I said. Tell them the money came from something good in the end. Sarah, please. But I was already fading away. The last thing I saw was Mrs. Rose kneeling beside me. Child, she said softly. You have saved not just these women, but thousands of girls who would have suffered if David returned. Was it worth it? I whispered. Yes, you died a hero. I closed my eyes and felt peace for the first time in 7 months. David Okafor was finally, truly dead, and I was free. 3 years later, Joy stood at the podium in the United Nations building in New York. Behind her was a large banner, the Sarah Foundation, protecting girls worldwide. 3 years ago, Joy said to the audience of world leaders, my best friend Sarah gave her life to save 17 women from a supernatural curse. Today, the foundation she started has saved over 5,000 girls across Africa. In the audience, Sarah's mother wiped tears from her eyes. Beside her sat Sarah's 2 brothers, now in university thanks to the scholarship fund Joy had created in Sarah's memory. Sarah taught us that sometimes the greatest act of love is sacrifice, Joy continued. She showed us that one person's courage can change the world. After the speech, Joy walked to Central Park. She sat on a bench and pulled out her phone. Every year on this day, the anniversary of Sarah's death, she came here to remember her friend. I wish you could see what the foundation has become, she said to Sarah's photo on her phone. We have offices in 12 countries now. We've helped girls escape forced marriages, human trafficking, and abuse. A gentle breeze blew through the park. The other women from that night are all doing well, Joy continued. Grace became a teacher. Peace started her own business. Hope became a nurse. They all help run local chapters of the foundation. Joy smiled through her tears. And Sarah, you should know, we never found any more cursed pregnancies. David's evil really did die with you. You saved not just those 17 women, but every girl who would have suffered if he had returned. The breeze grew stronger, rustling the leaves above her. I know you're watching over us, Joy whispered. And I promise, as long as I'm alive, no girl will ever have to face what you faced alone. She stood up and walked back toward the UN building, where she had 3 more meetings about expanding the foundation to South America. As she walked, she didn't notice the small white butterfly that followed her for several blocks before flying up into the sky. But if she had looked up at that moment, she might have seen something impossible. For just a second, the butterfly's wings seemed to form the shape of a young woman's face. A face that looked exactly like Sarah's. And the face was smiling. 10 years after Sarah's sacrifice, the Sarah Foundation had become the largest organization in the world dedicated to protecting young women from exploitation. They had saved over 50,000 girls across 6 continents. Joy, now the international director, never married. She dedicated her life to continuing Sarah's work. Sarah's mother lived to see her 80th birthday, healthy and proud of the daughter who had saved so many. She often told people that Sarah was watching over all the girls the foundation helped. David Okafor's name was erased from every building, every street, every memorial in Lagos. His companies were liquidated and the money given to help trafficking victims. And in a small church in Yaba, there stands a memorial plaque that reads, Sarah, she chose love over fear, sacrifice over selfishness, and light over darkness. Her courage saved thousands, and her spirit lives on in every girl who refuses to be a victim. But the most important legacy of Sarah's story isn't written on any plaque. It's written in the hearts of every girl who learned that her body is her own. Her worth is not for sale, and her strength is greater than any evil that tries to destroy her. Sarah died to break a curse. But in doing so, she created something much more powerful than any magic. Hope. Final message. Sarah's story reminds us that the real monsters in this world often wear expensive suits and make generous offers. But it also reminds us that courage is contagious, sacrifice can change the world, and sometimes the greatest victory comes not from surviving evil, but from choosing to die fighting it rather than live serving it. Every girl has the power to be her own hero, and every hero's greatest strength comes not from what they can gain, but from what they're willing to give up to protect others. Sarah gave everything, and in return, she saved everyone. There is more to this story. Comment part 3 below.